I'm delighted to participate in Colaba conversations on this very important topic of sustainable infrastructure in our urban environments. It's really a topical area for not just India, not just developing countries, but also developed countries. Developing countries like us face the issue of infrastructure deficit, whereas the developed countries face the issue that their infrastructure is completing their life cycle and they need to replace it with something which is more sustainable, something which can withstand the shocks, the disasters, the extreme events of the 21st century. It is said that the infrastructure that we will have by 2050, half of it is yet to be built. This presents us with a great opportunity to get it right so that we make it resilient and make it such that it serves not just us but several generations to come. But it is also a challenge because the pace at which infrastructure is being built, it is really important that the way we set standards, the way we set financing mechanisms, the way we regulate infrastructure, the way we assess risk, the way we finance recovery when infrastructure gets affected is in sync with the realities of 21st century. And the reality, let me highlight with a few examples from just the most recent monsoon season in the country. We've had a monsoon which was 99% of normal, so it is a normal monsoon, and yet we had the month of August when we had nearly 25% deficit, and the month of September where we had 34% excess rainfall. So the overall rainfall across the monsoon season was normal, but it was happening in very short spells, extreme events occurring. As a result, we've had some of the most unprecedented flooding in the country, sometimes in geographies where we haven't historically seen a lot of flooding. The same is happening with other hazards, such as cyclones. Growing up, I never knew that there was, I didn't think, it was not in my mind space that there are cyclones occurring on the west coast. Most of the cyclones occurred on the east coast, affecting Andhra Pradesh, rarely Tamil Nadu, Odisha, and West Bengal. And in the last few years, what we are seeing is that there is more and more activity on the West Coast as well. So we have a very difficult scenario where the past cannot be a good guide for the future. The future seems more and more uncertain in terms of the kind of hazards our infrastructure systems will face. We've seen several events this year. We had just a few days ago, over the last weekend, an event where a dam in Andhra Pradesh was partly washed away and it affected a number of uh, settlements downstreams. We've had some of the worst flooding in Chennai, even after having done a lot of work after the 2015 floods. The city was finding it difficult to cope with the levels of flooding we saw in Chennai just a few days ago. We've had similar incidents in the Himalayan cities or towns, hill towns, where we've had cascading events, extreme rainfall leading to slides, leading to blockage of rivers, and then flash floods down below. So it's really, in summary, what I can say is that we are seeing the effects of climate change. The impacts are not out there in the future, they are right there at our doorstep. So, in such a context, when you build infrastructure, which is by definition for a long term, it is not for 5 years or 10 years. What do you build for? How do you build it in a manner that it is able to withstand the shocks and stresses of not just the present, but also of the future? And I suggest that we focus on four areas to address this challenge. The first is that we have to do a much better job of risk analytics. We have to analyze risk at the local level. We have to democratize the risk information. We have to give information in the hands of people who actually do infrastructure planning at different levels. From community level to infrastructure financiers to builders, to infrastructure planners. I think we really have to, one, update our risk assessment metrics to take into account these risks and uncertainties of the future. And two, we really have to make it available to people who actually need these. The second thing we need to do is upgrade our standards, upgrade our regulations to meet the realities of 21st century, not just now, but also out into the future. And this is a complex task because it comes with cost implications. You know, when you build resilience, infinite resilience would cost you infinite money. So you have to have a clear orientation in terms of outcome. What is the kind of performance outcome you want from your infrastructure systems? And that's a challenging task because when the hazards, say wind speed, increases by 10%, the damages don't increase by 10%, they increase by 100%. So if you have designed an airport to withstand winds of 150 kilometers an hour, and tomorrow wind occurs which is 165 kilometers an hour. So to make it withstand 165, it's not that your cost implication are only 10% extra. They may be much more. So this is something we need to work together and come up with what are the kinds of standards we will set up for our futures infrastructure. And a corollary of that is how do we regulate professions that are involved in developing infrastructure? How do we make sure that people across the entire chain of developing infrastructure are conversant with the new methods of risk, the new standards, the new way of building, the new way of conceptualizing. So that's the second bit, the standards and regulation. The third thing that we need to focus on is how do we come up with predictable mechanisms to quickly restore infrastructure services when things go down? You know, we've made tremendous progress, for example, in Odisha in reducing loss of lives by 95 to 98%. Yet, when a cyclone occurs, there have been instances where settlements, urban settlements, have been left without power for 30 days. You know, I think we have to do a much better job. How do we have mechanisms, manpower, you know, spare components of infrastructure systems, in this case, poles and wires, standard operating procedures, so that recovery is really swift, services are delivered quickly across all infrastructure systems, whether it is power, telecommunications, water supply, road transport. We have to have much better, stronger mechanisms of recovery, predictable mechanisms of recovery. And finally, which connects more directly to this panel, is how do we structure finance so that there is incentive for financiers of infrastructure to invest in resilience and not in risk. And one key aspect of that is when we do feasibility analysis for infrastructure projects, we should look at it not just from the perspective of upfront costs, but also life cycle costs. You know, because if you build something which is not able to withstand extreme events, then you will incur losses cumulatively over decades, and over the life cycle, that infrastructure system ends up being more expensive. So I think we have to come up with imaginative ways of structuring finance for infrastructure in a manner that it incentivizes resilience and not risk. So these are the four areas I think we need to focus on. To summarize, a better job of risk assessment, risk analytics, improving standards and regulations, predictable mechanisms of infrastructure recovery when they are affected by extreme events, and finally, structuring finance in a manner that it encourages resilience and not risk. With that, I would like to thank you very much and wish you a very stimulating panel discussion which sets the stage for actions not just in the coming year, but decades. Thank you very much.